All right, so we posted the resolution yesterday, which was resolve the United States the federal government should increase its quota of H-1B visas. And we're going to dive into what that means today. And I know you guys cut cards yesterday, and if you already completed that assignment, good for you. A lot of our TAs and coaches provided you with some feedback on your homework. You can check the Google Classroom for that. And if you didn't do your homework yet, it'd be great if you do it. So some background on what H-1B visa is. So the H-1B visa is a visa that is given to immigrants that allow U.S. employers to employ foreign workers in specialty occupations. The H-1B visa is a common visa pathway for high-skilled foreigners to work at companies in the U.S., and it's valid for 3 years and can be renewed for another 3 years. And it's a program that's particularly near and dear to the tech industry because a lot of the engineers and tech specialists in the tech industry come from immigrants and people that hold H-1B visas. And basically, a lot of these high-skilled foreigners are allowed into the United States to work for the United States companies through this visa. And if they didn't have this visa, they won't be able to come over and work in the United States or participate in any of the companies owned by, well, they can, but not like, that would be called offshore. So that's something different. So I know you guys already cut 2 cards, but here are some more concise arguments that you can run for H-1B visas. So on the pro side, which is saying we should have more H-1B visas, there are a lot of arguments, as you can see here, and I'll just touch on a few just because there's so many. One of them is specialized skills. Of course, if you bring in people from other countries, they're going to possess high skill labor, and they're going to provide those labor for the United States industry, right? That's the point of the H-1B visa, is to take like the brains of other countries and kind of like gather in the United States companies to work for those companies. And that has a lot of consequences that are helpful for tech companies, especially. It helps improve tech companies because one thing with H-1B visa workers is that, one, they're efficient because they're like highly skilled, right? And second of all, they help grow the industry more because they come from different countries and they possess different skills. And another thing with H-1B visas is that it actually increases wages. And you might not exactly understand why, and I'll dive a little bit deeper into this. So you might think that like the presence of immigrants have more favorable effects on, not as favorable effects on income because they kind of take away those opportunities from natives or like local people, right? But it turns out that migrant workers who are like willing to stay here and work for these companies in the United States, they actually help grow the wages in a way because they're able to really they're able to basically help grow the economy. And because of that, the legal status of these migrant workers, because these migrant workers may not have the legal status of some people in the United States, that results in a lot of people thinking that these workers might be detrimental to the economy because companies want to hire people that might not have as much legal like authority so that they can decrease the wages. But in actuality, the H-1B visa can actually help increase the wages because they help. This is something you can research more into, but basically it provides more jobs for locals because it provides more competition. It's kind of hard to discuss without the numbers and like evidence, but you can definitely find a lot of resources for that. And in addition, H-1B visas help increase the US competitiveness, right? If you think of it, if we close off immigration, it actually decreases our competitiveness in relative to other countries, because we are not getting the brains of other countries, and we're not being able to have like that free trade of um, like mental power. So by having H-1B visas, we are actually helping people become more competitive on a global scale. On the other side, you can say that H-1B visas take American jobs, right? You can say because H-1B visas offer jobs to foreign workers, it takes away opportunities from American workers. And since companies are more prone to hire these H-1B visa workers, Americans might suffer as a consequence. But to refute that, you can also say that it doesn't happen, as we stated on the pro side, of increasing wages and increasing jobs. Another case is some H-1B visa holders are not working for STEM companies and actually are outsourced. And like in India, for example, there's a lot of outsourcing from American companies to other countries. And in that case, it's not really helping either one. So that might be something you want to mention. So we can go more in depth into H-1B visas in our drill groups, but that's just an overview of what the H-1B visa is. And we'll go into case creation. Okay, so case creation. So yesterday we talked about how to create one piece of evidence, right? So those pieces of evidence come together in a whole argument to create a cohesive, constructive case. And so here's the part of the case that you need to know. So the first one is hook. It's optional. You don't really need it. It's basically something to capture the attention of the person who's listening to you. And then second, you have framework. This is more common in Lincoln-Douglas debate, but you can also use the framework to define terms in the resolution. For example, if you don't know what H-1B visa is, or if your judge doesn't know what it is, you want to define that for them. And you want to also assume that they might not know everything all the time. So you want to define things clearly in the framework, but that might not be necessary at this level. And what we'll be focusing on is the constructive, like creating the contentions part of it. And next we have the observations, which is also optional. Observations are where you basically break down the resolution and basically pinpoint parts of it that you think are important in basically like restricting the debate to. So that's also optional, and that's more of a strategic advantage if you want to do that, but it's also not necessary to win. So in a basic case, there are usually 2 to 4 contentions, and that consists of a claim, a warrant, and an impact. And this is usually broken up into 2 to 4 subpoints. So there's subpoint A, subpoint B, subpoint C, and there's usually like an impact at the end. Or you can do like a subpoint D if you want. So the elements of a constructive speech are, first you need ethos, right? Ethos means credibility. You want to be credible in both your logic and in your resources. You don't want to be using some sketchy website from like nowhere. You want to be using reputable sources, because that provides the most like confidence when you're giving that speech. And logos, this kind of ties into ethos as well, because if you're not logical, you're not going to be credible in your speech. So you want to make sure that whatever you're saying follows a logical flow. So you want to make sure that your argument isn't jumping around, that you're being rational and you're using your evidence to support a specific impact that that links back to your argument. And we'll talk all about all those things later. And last, you want to have pathos. So you want to relate to the listener, right? You want to make sure that you're connecting with the judge. You want to be able to connect with them on more than just a rational scale. You want to connect with them emotionally. And that kind of ties into the impact part of it, right? So you want to make sure your argument has an impact in it, because that weighs why it's important and why it should matter. So here's an example of a case. So let's say your first contention is economic competitiveness. You're on the pro side of H-1B visas. So the claim is H-1B visas allow for a more global economic competitiveness by closing the skill gap. And your subpoint A, which is also, you can say it's your uniqueness, which is basically the start of your argument that makes it like, why is this even relevant, right? So income inequality shows decreasing domestic competition. Subpoint B is basically like a link from subpoint A to subpoint C, and it says foreign skilled workers boosts gross human income. So you can see kind of the link between A and B, right? So first you're saying income inequality is decreasing, and income inequality is decreasing the competition in our country, right? That's what subpoint A is saying. And subpoint B is saying, well, if we have foreign skilled workers, that boosts the gross human income, which increases domestic competition, right? So subpoint C, as you can see, is the internal link. You're trying to link gross human income to US competitiveness. So this connects, so C connects basically B to A, right? So you need that link, or else people won't understand why does gross human income matter, or gross human capital, sorry. Your gross human capital matters because it increases US competitiveness, right? Which is what is the opposite of A. And you're trying to increase that domestic competition that is being reduced in the status quo by the income inequality. And then subpoint D is the impact. So this is basically saying there's a larger scale picture of what US competitiveness means, right? So US competitiveness is key to preventing war. You want to find a really good card for this, because there are really good cards for why, like, US being a competitive nation, or not competitive nation, but US being economically competitive is key to preventing a global war. And so up to this point, you can see how the argument is going to flow. You're going to see, okay, in subpoint A, we're going to talk about the status quo, or what it is currently. Currently, there is income inequality that is decreasing the competition of United States. Subpoint B is saying, okay, foreign skilled workers, which is tying back to H-1B visas, that helps boost gross human income, gross human capital. But what does gross human capital mean, right? And that's where subpoint C comes into play. The gross human capital increases US competitiveness, and that's why it's important. And subpoint D is saying US competitiveness is key to preventing something larger, which is in this case war. So what is uniqueness? It's the context is the status quo, as you said. So another simpler example is, for example, uniqueness. Online education is bad, okay? And the link that follows the uniqueness is the causation. So you're saying basically online education is bad, and there's a plan that makes education better. So your plan makes education better. And that is good because of the internal link, right? The internal link is saying, well, why does education matter, right? Better education gives more jobs, and jobs lead to a better economy. That's like the link there. And it's not also always necessary for internal links to happen. If your case is very obvious from point A to B, like the uniqueness and then the link and then the impact, then you really don't need the internal link. The internal link is only like more to clarify the points being made. So if you're making kind of like a stretch argument, or not a stretch argument, but if your points aren't as clearly defined in the link, then you want to connect the link to something else before you jump into an impact that might not seem that transparent from just stating it, right? Because you might not see the link between a better education and a better economy. So you want that internal link to lead you to the conclusion that a better education leads to a better economy. And finally, you have the impact. So the impact is really the most important part of the contention, because without the impact, there's really no point to your argument, right? Like, why does your argument matter? And in this case, it's that a better economy leads to global peace and no nuclear war. And you might be thinking that's a bit of a stretch, right? How does better economy lead to, like, a worse economy lead to global war or nuclear war? And there's actually a lot of cards out there that suggest this. And if you can find it, it's really good. But you can also go for something smaller. You can end with an impact of better economy. If you can't find any cards on nuclear war, that's fine too. Okay, so that's the case creation. Do we have any questions thus far about case creation? I know I said a lot. Just, you can type in the chat too. Is there anything specific you want to go over that you might be confused about? This is the time to ask. Okay. Yeah, we will post this on Google Classroom for you to write down all the notes. But if you have any questions beyond what is written on the documents, this is the time to ask.
Okay.
Coaches or TAs, do you have any comments for today's lecture, or do you want to add anything to it? No? Okay, let's go over today's drills. So today in your drills, you're going to have two things that you're going to do. So number one, you're going to do a drill that's called the circle game. And basically what you're going to do there is, does anyone remember what a warrant is? Can anyone describe what I said about what a warrant is? Like, you can write it in the chat or something.
Isn't a warrant the reason the statement is true?
Kind of, yeah. It gives like context to, like, it gives an argument for why the case is right, and it gives basically the premise of your argument. And okay, so you will be doing a drill that will be consisting of warrants. So we will be giving you a topic. For example, it could be the H-1B visa topic. It probably won't be, but you will get a topic, and then you will have to have a set of warrants to explain why the topic is true. So for example, for the H-1B visa topic, you can say one reason why, like, you support the H-1B visa, you are on the AF side of it. You can say one reason is economic competitiveness, and another reason is like preventing discrimination or something along those lines. So you want to create multiple warrants for one topic and one side of the topic. And that will repeat for every person. So the first person will get 3 warrants. Will have to name 3 warrants for the specific topic. And then the second person has to give 2 warrants for that specific topic. And then it keeps on going, and each consecutive person gives 1 less warrant until there isn't any more warrants, or you can't think of any more warrants. If you can't think of any more warrants, you can simply say, can I get another topic? And we'll give you another topic. And then you'll have to create 3 warrants from that new topic. Okay, so that's drill number 1. And then the second drill is basically, we're going to give you a case, and you will have to identify, like I did in my presentation, the uniqueness, the link, and the impact of the argument. Or you can do like a warrant, the claim warrant situation. That's fine too. Yeah. So those are the 2 exercises we will be doing in our drill groups. Any questions? Oh, what is the homework? We'll tell you that later, but for now we're just going to, okay. Can you explain what a warrant is? Yeah, sure. So let me go back to my thing. So a warrant is basically like the second part, an elaboration on your claim that gives context to what your claim is about, right? So it's more like a it's a combination of basically the uniqueness claim, or the uniqueness card, and then the link card in a way. So you're basically saying there's this thing that's causing the impact, and that's the warrant, right? And you want to connect that with the claim. So in the case of the H-1B visa case, there is a claim that H-1B visas allow for more global economic competitiveness by closing the skill gap. And that would be like your warrant, and then you have to add to that by saying like why that is and elaborate on that.
If you've ever written an essay in class, your warrant is kind of like your commentary. Like, it should connect your claim to your impact. It should round out your argument. It's the main part of your argument.
Any other questions? Okay, if there's no questions, then I'm going to ask you guys questions. Can anyone tell me what a uniqueness is? Oh, okay. Where do we find the word? I believe you can ask Megan for that. I think Megan has it. The recordings on YouTube. Okay, so can anyone tell me what uniqueness is? Why do you need the uniqueness in an argument? Okay, if I say the uniqueness is online education is bad, and you're making an argument about online education causing a better economy, then what is the uniqueness? Okay, so the uniqueness is basically like the context that you want to give before you give your whole warrant. So it's basically like the start and the introduction to the status quo, and then what you want to change, or like what your plan or proposes to change will follow the uniqueness. So if the plan that you propose to change, or like the plan that you are proposing is next after the uniqueness, then what is the plan? What part of the case is the plan? Is it the uniqueness, the link, or the impact? There's only three choices: the uniqueness, the link, or the impact. Okay, so the question, someone asked what the question was. So the question was, if you have an argument and you made the uniqueness claim, which is the status quo, like what's going on in the status quo. For example, the H-1B visa case, and your first subpoint is income inequality shows decreasing domestic competition. And then you're saying my plan solves this problem. Is that the uniqueness, the link, or the impact? Okay, so someone said impact. So I think you guys are looking at the end of like the solvency part of it, or the end of the plan, right? The ultimate end of the plan is the impact. You're right, but the plan itself is like the link as to why the status quo is solved by your plan. Does that make sense? So your link is basically where you want to insert why my case is right, or your case is right, right? And the link connects your uniqueness or your claim to the impact or the result of your plan, right? So that's what the plan is. The plan is basically the link of the whole thing. Can anyone tell me what an impact is? So for example, I say that online education is bad and the app makes education better. And therefore, better education leads to more jobs, and more jobs lead to a better economy. So what part of that was the impact? Yeah, so Jaden said a better economy, and that's right. So sorry, there was someone in my background. So a better economy is the impact, because that's the ultimate, like what the effects are of your plan, right? Your plan is to make education better, and that finally achieves a better economy. So that would be your impact. Do any of the TAs want to add anything?
I'll just say that writing a case initially, it seems really intimidating just because if you're writing two cases for AF and neg, it seems like a big workload, but just think of it as if you're just writing a paragraph that you're trying to prove a statement to. So let's just say like a DBQ, you're trying to prove certain segments and you're backing it up with evidence that you find online. So if you don't think about it as a whole and just separate it into sections, then I think you'll get through it way easier than if you were just to look at it.
Yeah, okay, so I guess we have a lot of time before drills. We're just going to look at a sample case, and you guys can help me identify what components are in each case, okay? So I'm going to share I'm going to share my screen. Do you guys see my screen? Yeah. Okay. I'm taking that as a yes because I don't.
Yeah, you're good. You're
Okay.
good.
So the resolution, we're on the aft side of the resolution, right? So this is a case for the affirmative that is agreeing with the statement that the United States federal government should increase its quota of H-1B visas. So you see in the first part here that you're defining what an H-1B visa is. So you can read all of that. You don't need to, but so that's the definition that you might want to give before starting your case. And then you have your observations, right? So we believe that the federal government should increase the quota of H-1B visas as it could impact the economy of the country positively. There are currently regulations that require H-1B visa workers to be paid the minimum wage. If these regulations are not properly enforced, it does not mean that more H-1B visas should not be handed out. It simply means that the law needs to be better enforced. Negation needs to prove. Okay, so this is what the observation really means. Negation needs to prove that despite the regulations and their proper enforcement, giving more H-1B visas would be a detriment to the US. So the observation section is basically like stating the burdens of the neg, right? So you're on the aft and you're stating, okay, if the neg wants to win, they need to prove this point. If they don't, they shouldn't win. So that's the observation section. And now so this part you don't really need to worry about because this isn't necessary for you to win. That's not like a part of debate it's good, but it's like more strategic than you need to be right now. So right now you just need to focus on the contentions. So you see, okay, this isn't a very good example. You should have like a claim here. They're not having that. It's okay. So
Joanna,
yeah.
can you zoom in a little?
Oh, wait. Okay. Is that good?
Yeah, I think that's a lot better.
Okay. So you have the contentions here, and usually you have like some sort of claim, like what the contention is going to be. I guess it's just global scientific community, but you should have like a complete sentence there. So you have your first card. I'm going to let you guys read through it. Or I'll just read it to you guys. Our scientific strength is a tool of soft power and a basis for creating partnerships with countries. Science diplomacy is a central element because science and technology are essential to achieving stability and strengthening failed and fragile states. S&T, which is science and technology, advances have enormous influence on the international relations between societies. America must remain on the forefront at the forefront of this new world by maintaining its technological edge. Science, by its nature, facilitates diplomacy because it strengthens political relationships, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So you get the point of this card, right? It's basically saying science and technology is important on the international scale because we need it to strengthen our relationships and create opportunities for people. And is a tool for soft power, which is like basically international power. So that's what the first card is basically saying. The second card, so what do you guys think the first card is? Is it the uniqueness, the link, or the impact? TAs, can you check the chat? I can't see it.
You're good. There's nothing going on in the chat.
Okay, did anyone answer or no? Okay, can anyone give me the answer to this question? Is it the link, the uniqueness, the link, or the impact? So we went through what a case should look like, right? So you have the uniqueness at the beginning, hint, hint, and then you have the link.
Some students are answering with uniqueness.
Okay, yeah, so uniqueness, right? And you can see here that it's giving you like basically like the reason or the context for what this argument is going to be about. And then the second card, US government should increase the number of H-1B visas. Okay, foreign scientists working or studying in the US universities also become informal goodwill ambassadors for America globally, an important benefit in the developing world, where senior scientists and engineers often enter national politics. We urgently need to expand and deepen links between the US and foreign scientific communities to advance solutions to common challenges. Okay, so can someone tell me, is this the uniqueness, link, or impact? Yeah, okay, so I think people put link or, oh, Hubert can't hear anything? Is that happening to you guys as well, or is it just Hubert?
We're all good. I'm gonna troubleshoot with Uber really quickly.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so it's a link, right? Because can anyone identify, like, put it into a tagline? If you had to tag this card, what would it say? Can anyone do that? So this card is saying US government should increase the number of H-1B visas. And the reason for this is there's an important benefit in the developing world where senior scientists and engineers often enter national politics. We need to expand and deepen links between the US and foreign scientific communities to advance solutions to common challenges. So if you had to tag this, what would you write as the tagline? So we practiced tagging yesterday, right? Tagging is basically where you just read the card and then you summarize it in a short, like 5 to 6 words. So can anyone give me a tagline? H-1B visas should increase in the US. Okay, that's a good start. So that's true, right? It's saying that we should increase the number of H-1B visas, but that would be a very like vague tagline, not because it's not true or partially true, but it's because you can really say that to any card on the affirmative side, because that's the entire affirmative stance, right? The affirmative stance is to increase H-1B visas, or just basically say H-1B visas are good. So can anyone give me a more specific tagline? That was good, Haley. H-1B visas help, okay. Jaden, H-1B visas should increase so we can solve problems. Okay, that's true. But you don't know what problems, right? Like, try to be a little bit more, like, what's the word? More specific. H-1B visas help America by making American ambassadors. I guess, yeah, sure. That's true, but why is American, like, why is the American ambassadors important, right? So increase H-1B visas to help US communicate internationally. Yeah, that's a better one. That's right. That's what this card is saying. H-1B visas should increase to benefit the developing world. It doesn't really talk about the developing world, so you want to be careful about, like, oh wait, yeah, it does. Never mind. Yeah, that's good. We want to have good relationships with other countries. Is that like a, oh yeah, that's okay. That's like a conclusion, right, that you draw from H-1B visas, but that's not exactly what's stated in this card word for word. So, but you guys all had really good ideas, so okay, cool. So you see, okay, so this already labels an impact, so I already know it's an impact. More innovation. Okay, this is a really bad, like, I mean, this is a good impact, but it's It's kind of crappy. Okay. 2014, about half of biomedical scientists in the United States were foreign born and a third were non-citizens. A quarter of U.S. high-tech startups had an immigrant founder who first came to America as an international student. International students contributed nearly $33 billion to the U.S. economy during the 2015-2016 academic year. So, so you've read through like an impact, and I'll read through the second one. And I want you guys, so while we're reading through the second one, I want you guys to craft basically a stream of the stream of logic that the author is using, right? So the uniqueness card, what the uniqueness card is saying, and then tying it to what the link is saying, and then tying it into what the impact is saying. So I want you guys to like create like a sentence as to what the author is conveying from beginning to end of this argument. Okay, impact. 2, global opinion. Visa-related problems are discouraging and preventing scientists from studying and working in the United States. If action is not taken, scientists may not make our nation their destination. The damage to our nation's scientific enterprises would be irreparable. United States cannot hope to maintain position if it becomes isolated. Okay, so these are the 2 impacts. So I want you guys to create a statement that basically encapsulate this whole argument into one sentence. Okay, so let's start from the beginning again, right? So what is the beginning saying? It's saying science is important because it is important for like international relations, right? And so this is the contention itself is on global scientific community. So you know what this argument is going to be about. So first they're saying science is important because of international relations. Okay. And then second, they say increasing H-1B visas is important for developing international relations, right? And then thirdly, it says, okay, having better international relations and foreign scientists leads to more innovations and global opinions, right? Or yeah, global like globalization, right? It leads to people wanting to come to our country to start scientific opportunities here, right? So can anyone give me a sentence that encapsulates this argument? Okay, Haley. H-1B visas should increase in number as they are helping scientists. Without them, scientists will stop coming to the, yeah, that's a good start. So that's saying the first part, right? It's saying we need to help scientists and we need to like help the science community. And then it captures also the second part, H-1B visas should increase in number because of the fact that they help scientists. And without them, scientists will stop coming. And because scientists will stop coming, we will not have globalization and innovation. So that's a good one. Okay, Jaden. H-1B visa should increase to increase our scientific strength. We use science to communicate. Increasing the visa would get us more scientists. The more scientists we have, the better the US's globalization. If we don't increase, scientists will stop coming to, yeah, that's really good. Try to make it shorter because you want to be able to like reference this quickly and be able to tell the judge quickly why this is right. But that's a good start. Cool. So you've seen one contention, how it's built. I'm not going to go through the second one, but you guys can look at this on your own. I'll share it in the chat. Do we have any questions about the way we did this exercise or how to write a case? No questions, really.
I have a question.
Okay, cool.
Are we gonna have homework like this?
Yeah, so ideally by the end of like camp, you'll be able to write a whole case, right? So we will build up to that by assigning you guys homework that will be like writing contentions.
Okay.
Wait, also, Joanna, are we like teaching them how to write a plan text and stuff? Or like,
I think we're just going with like the traditional,
okay.
yeah. But I don't know if Lab 2 is doing that, maybe. Okay, so I think we're done with the lecture. The drill time is 3:15, which is odd. That's a really long lecture. We can either go on break now or we can do something until 3:15. What do you guys think? Okay, so I'm getting like go on break now. Cool. You guys, we can go on a 10-minute break and then let's meet back at 2:05 or 13-minute break, I guess.
Joanna, I was thinking, do you want like for people that need help on, either cutting cards or like understanding anything else and they don't want to, ask in person, do you want to just stay back like at least
Yeah.
1 or 2 coaches to, answer questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah,
If you
thank you,
guys
guys.
have questions, just let us know. We'll just be here.
Are you guys going into drill groups?
I think we're taking like a 10-minute break, and then if anybody wants to ask questions, they can stay behind and just ask them here.
Okay.
So like a mini tutorial break kind of thing.
Okay, just call me back when you want the students to go into drill groups.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Ryan, that's fine. I mean, we can't exactly stop you from leaving, but yeah. So I mean, I don't think break's gonna be done after 3. So yeah, see you, man.
I'm not sure. Main session? Are we staying in here or going back to main session? Does anyone know?